all day, every day, the thoughts you are focused upon, whether it is past, present, or future, whether it is a person, whether it is a place, whether it is a thing, whether it is a philosophy, whether it is an economy, whether it is a government, it doesn't matter what you have turned your attention to. It is certain that whatever it is, you're getting play-by-play feedback about whether this activated thought that you've got going on is beneficial or detrimental to you. Because your life has caused you to reach into new places. And then all day, every day, you've got this measurement going on to see how well you're reaching into the new place that life caused you to reach to. The best way of saying it is life has caused you to expand. The larger part of you, the inner being of you, has already taken that vibrational leap forward. And if you don't bring the rest of you along, then you feel the discord and you don't feel good. In short, if you are to live the joyful life that you have come forth to live, you've got to keep up with you. And we don't know any of you who can keep up with you when you're looking back. If we were standing in your physical shoes, we would spend so little time looking into the past, it would be as if we were born today. We would spend so little time thinking about anything that had happened before, because everything that happened before your frequency was where it now is. So you're just almost certain of bringing discord to yourself by activating that. Now, we know good things happened in the past, and we know that you can selectively sift through it and find those good things. But you are forward-looking beings. It's one of the reasons that you just don't stay in these physical bodies very long. You don't stay in these bodies very long because you get so enamored with the path that you have walked upon that you want to record it for all to hear. And when you do, it holds you back. It holds you back from where you're going. It keeps you from being who you really are. It's not good for you, so stop it. Or not. Whatever you want is fine. There are no rules to this game of life. There's just an incessant quest that is within you, and that is to feel good. And we're just letting you know why when you don't feel good, what's going on, and why when you do feel good, what's going on. And it is our desire, as we chew together in the hours that are before us, that you leave this gathering with a revived decision that nothing is more important than that you feel good, and you're going to look for love in the places where it is. There are so many people looking for love in all the wrong places. And we want you to understand that where it is forward looking. Where it is where the whole of you is. Where it is where the source that is within you has evolved to because of what you have lived. We have to make a very strong statement here. If life had not caused you to become more, you would not feel uncomfortable when you don't become it. You got to keep up with you. You just got to keep up with you. You just got to keep up with you, you see. The vortex is bringing in all cooperative components. But if you're over there beating the drum of a different vibration, then you're not a cooperative component, and you can't be someone who comes into vibrational alignment with your own creation. You're a holdout of your own creation. And what's so interesting about that is that if life hadn't caused you to create it, you wouldn't even notice through negative emotion that you're not there. In other words, if you hadn't expanded, not going wouldn't feel uncomfortable. So when you feel negative emotion, it always means two things. First, you've created one whopping swirling vortex, and you're not going. Oh, you're going. You're just going to wait till you croak, maybe, to go. We don't think you should have to croak to get in the vortex. We think that you should be able to release enough resistance by focusing upon enough good feeling things, by giving yourself and others the benefit of the doubt, by giving yourself a break, by looking for reasons to praise and reasons to appreciate rather than reasons to criticize and reasons to poke and probe. When you release or relax your resistance, the vortex will bring you in, and then your heart will soar, your mind will clear, your path of creation will unfold, and then you will be living the life you intended when you came forth into this physical body. That's what you came for. So, we bring up this trail of thought because a trail of thought really is what your beliefs are about. A belief is only a thought you keep thinking, but we want to add a new phrase to that statement that you've been hearing us offer for a while. A belief is a vibration that you continue to activate for some reason. In other words, while Jerry and Esther have not thought about those particular people in a long time, that's still an active part of their life experience, as is most everyone's past an active part of your experience. Esther laughs as they drive in the monster bus across this nation. It is a rare road that they're on that Jerry doesn't have some memory about. Because he traveled as an entertainer, he traveled by car, he traveled all of the roads of this nation. And nearly all of the roads that he traveled, Jerry and Esther are still traveling. So he remembers that motel. He remembers what happened at that gas station. He remembers the people that lived in this town. And while most of it feels good when he reactivates it, every time you activate something from the past, you run the risk, and we don't mean to sound warning, we just can't find a better word of explaining. There is the potential of this activation because of this past experience not jiving with what's going on now. For example, when you go home for a vacation, home to your early roots, when you go back to visit your parents or the town that you grew up in or the people from your beginning, even if they're not still living where you lived, when you go back to those people, don't you find yourself beginning to behave like you did the last time you were there? Often. Because those familiar faces and places, the familiar food that they're eating, the familiar things that they think about, the familiar family albums that they get out, the familiar vibration of what that was is activated within you when you turn your attention to it. Whether you go there or not, or whether you just think about having been there. In other words, when you turn your attention homeward, so to speak, homeward to your physical family roots, you activate the vibration of that, and if you feel love and joy and friskiness when you're doing that, that means that those thoughts that are activating are blending with the most further extension of who you are, and all is really well. But if you feel irritated, if you feel ornery about it, if you feel lonely or homesick, if you get those nostalgic feelings that so often you associate with home, what that means is that thought activated something so far from who you now are that there is a discord within you. Esther said, after a while of understanding this, now I know what homesick means. Home makes you sick. And we mean that too, in the sense that when you activate those memories of when you felt less secure, or when someone didn't approve of you, or before you had figured out who you are, it's a very common thing for you to activate just by turning your attention to something that doesn't jive with who you are. But you don't have to go back home or back into your memory to do that. Same environment, different depths of interpretation. There are people who can hear things that you can't hear. There are animals that can hear things that you can't hear. You are all, whether you are beast or human or molecule, you are all vibrating beings and sensual, sensitive beings. But you have levels of interpretation that go far beyond your physical senses. And what they are vibrational interpretations. You get impulses to move or impulses to consider. You get impulses that you're picking up from all around you. But this is always true. You never receive an impulse or an experience that is a departure from your vibrational countenance. In other words, you train yourself by living in your environment into your habits of vibrations. And your habits of vibrations are what your beliefs and expectations really are. So, without meaning to, most humans have allowed their environment to train them into patterns of expectation that serve you in many cases and hinder you in others. And this gathering is about learning to utilize your guidance system in order to understand what you're receiving and whether it is beneficial to who you are, who you have become, or whether it is detrimental. Whether focusing upon it causes you to allow the creation, or whether focusing upon it allows you to hinder the creation. It's fun to realize that you are vibrational beings. But before being a vibrational being in your physical body can be very meaningful to you. You have to understand that this physical part that you know as you, that all of your friends have identified through your countenance and your personality, is but a very small part of who you really are. Because while you are in this physical body, there is a larger part of you that is source energy, vibration, non-physical. And that part of you, man has been calling it soul. Sometimes man calls it source or God. But that non-physical part of you is by far and away the larger, dominant part of you. And that part of you knows your well-being. That part of you has been accumulating since the beginning of your existence, and that's so far back we couldn't even begin to define that for you. Since the beginning of your existence, that part of you has been garnering and gathering and focusing upon the very best that your life experience has been able to hone out. In other words, this source energy is a vibrational vortex of well-being that defies physical human description. We just can't give it words, but sometimes your physical senses feel it, and you recognize it as love or appreciation or joy. Those moments of exhilaration are the best interpretation that you ever are able to utilize in order to define this vortex of well-being that really explains who you are. So in those moments that sometimes flash in your experience, where you feel that exhilaration, where you feel that feeling of at oneness, when you feel that satisfaction that is so warm and beautiful that it is like a hug of loves or appreciation from the inside out, when you feel that rapture that you would maybe define with the words well-being, that's a moment when there's no resistance within your physical countenance and you've allowed a perfect blending between you and you. That perfect blending between you and you is what we call allowing. And the art of allowing is just figuring out how to do it. We're not trying to get you to hook up and stay there. You do that when you're only non-physically focused. But as long as you're here in this physical body, you've come with the purpose of exploring the contrast, because the contrast helps you and us to focus. When you know what you don't want, when you worry about your world ecology or your world economy or anything that is going on in your world, personal or broader, when you worry about it, you launch a request for the improvement that matches the degree to which you have worried. So those who worry a little ask for a little improvement. Those who worry in a big way ask for big improvement. And as billions of you are upon this planet in any moment of time, you are contributing mightily to this vortex of creation that future generations will spring forth from. That's why you don't need to worry about your planet petering out or about your world diminishing or about the bad parts of your world taking over. The bad parts of your world cannot take over because the best parts of your world are being synthesized from the mix. And the best parts of your world are going into the vibrational escrow, and Source is holding them, and new generations will be born from that pool of knowledge. So do you get it? Can you feel this assembling of cooperative components? Can you feel the doneness of what you've asked for? Do you know your veritable fortune, the bodily conditions that you seek, your lovers, all things that you're asking for have already been gathered and are lined up, waiting for you to enter the vortex where you have visual awareness, sensual awareness of them. You can't set your radio dial on 6:30 a.m. and hear what's being broadcast on 98.7 FM. You got to be in the vortex in order to see the combining and cooperative components. Do you understand? So if you are in despair or fear, even though what you want has gathered, you're so far from it you can't see it. That's why you don't believe it. You don't see any evidence of it. If you're angry, you're still not seeing it. Probably wanting it more, but still not seeing it. When you're in frustration or overwhelmment, you're not in the vortex. You're not allowing yourself full vision or manifestation. You're not allowing it to unfold into your experience. When you get into hope, now you're in the vicinity. When you are feeling hopeful about something, even though you haven't seen it, that means you've released enough resistance. And in the releasing of resistance, you are cooperating enough